Somewhere in the quiet spaces of their life, your future spouse is sitting with a realization they never expected. A moment so small, yet so powerful, it shifted something inside them. A moment connected to you. To a gift you've carried, often silently, often unnoticed, often uncelebrated, yet deeply woven into who you are. This is not about beauty, achievements, or surface-level qualities. This is about the hidden strength within you. A gift many overlooked. A gift you didn't always understand. A gift that was shaped in seasons of pain, tested in seasons of silence, and refined by God Himself. Your future spouse saw it. Maybe through something you said. Maybe through something you posted. Maybe through something you overcame. Or maybe through the quiet way you carry yourself, even after all the storms you've survived. Whatever it was, it caught them off guard. It made them pause. It made them reflect. It made them see you in a light they weren't prepared for, a light God had been waiting to reveal in His timing. This is the moment their heart awakened. The moment their spirit recognized something familiar in you. The moment they understood, maybe for the first time, that you're not just another person passing through their thoughts, but someone their soul is drawn to. And now, they can't stop thinking about you. Not because they are obsessed. Not because they are infatuated. But because what they saw in you is rare, pure, anointed, set apart. In today's documentary, we explore what happens in the heart of your future spouse when God finally allows them to see your hidden gift. The shift, the awakening, the emotional unraveling they didn't expect, the spiritual recognition they can't ignore, and the way this moment becomes the first step toward a love story heaven has been preparing on both sides. Before we begin, if you believe in God-written love stories, if you feel this message speaking to something deep inside of you, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here you are seen, you are valued, and your heart is understood. And I promise you, by the end of this documentary, you will walk away with clarity, peace, and a new understanding of what God has been doing behind the scenes. Let's begin the journey. Let's uncover what they saw in you, and why it awakened something they can no longer silence. Number 1. The hidden gift they weren't ready to see. Every love story God writes has a moment of revelation. A moment when one heart finally sees what heaven has been seeing all along. For your future spouse, that moment arrived the day they noticed your hidden gift. A gift you didn't flaunt. A gift you didn't announce. A gift you weren't even trying to display. Yet it spoke louder to their spirit than anything you could have said out loud. Your gift is something you developed quietly. Not in front of crowds. Not for validation, but in the private, sacred corners of your life where God molds His strongest vessels. It might be your resilience, your compassion, your discernment, your softness, your strength wrapped in calm, or the way you love without demanding anything in return. Your future spouse didn't expect to be moved by it. They were living their life, carrying their own responsibilities, managing their own emotions. Love wasn't on their mind. Relationships weren't their focus. And yet, when they saw this part of you, something inside them shifted. Because your gift didn't just reveal who you are. It revealed who they could become with someone like you beside them. This hidden gift of yours carries a purity the world rarely offers. A kind of emotional intelligence that can't be taught by culture. A spiritual depth that can't be fabricated. A patience that only grows in the soil of endurance. A grace that survives heartbreak without becoming hardened. Your future spouse saw all of that in a moment they didn't even expect to see anything. And in that moment, their heart recognized something familiar. Not from their past, but from their prayers. Because whether they admitted it or not, they had been asking God for someone who carries what you carry. Someone who loves without fear. Someone who speaks truth without wounding. Someone who understands without judging. Someone who feels deeply but walks steadily. Your hidden gift exposed what they've been missing. Not because they lacked people around them, but because they lacked depth. They lacked connection. They lacked someone who genuinely reflected the kind of love their spirit longed for. Your gift reminded them of what's possible. Your gift awakened something they buried. Your gift stirred a longing they didn't feel safe acknowledging. And your gift spoke directly to the part of them God had been trying to soften. It is the kind of gift that makes a person rethink their decisions, rethink their priorities, rethink who they've been becoming. Rethink what they've been running from. Because when someone encounters a soul aligned with God, it exposes every counterfeit attachment they've settled for, every distraction, every emotional wall, every fear they've been hiding behind. Your future spouse found themselves reflecting in ways they haven't reflected in years. Not because you forced anything, but because your presence revealed truth. They started noticing the way you navigate pressure, the way you speak with intention, the way you give without losing yourself, the way your spirit remains anchored even when your heart is vulnerable. These qualities are rare, and because they are rare, they are impactful. You didn't try to impress them. You simply lived authentically. And authenticity draws the right spirit every time. This gift of yours is not loud, but it is powerful. It does not demand attention, but it commands respect. It does not chase validation, but it invites real connection. Your future spouse saw it, and in that moment their view of you changed. They realized you are not like the people who passed through their life before. You're not temporary. You're not shallow. You're not predictable. You're not replaceable. They saw depth. They saw purity. They saw purpose. And it awakened love in them, not the kind of love that rushes, but the kind that roots. This was the beginning of their emotional unraveling. The beginning of their awakening. The beginning of their realization that you are someone their heart was designed to recognize, even if their mind is still catching up. And as we go deeper, you will understand not only what they saw, but why they can't forget it. Number 2. The moment their spirit recognized you. There is a moment in every God-ordained love story that cannot be manufactured, explained, or repeated. A moment when one soul recognizes another, not because of physical attraction, not because of timing, not because of logic, but because their spirit wakes up. Your future spouse experienced that moment with you long before they were ready to admit it. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with fireworks or music. It came quietly, the way revelation usually does. It slipped into their awareness like a whisper they couldn't ignore. It happened when you weren't trying to be anything. Not impressive. Not charming. Not special. You were simply being yourself, grounded, warm, authentic, and unfiltered. And something about that simplicity struck their heart harder than anything complex ever has. This moment wasn't about attraction. They had felt attraction before. This was different. This was recognition. The kind that makes the world feel strangely familiar. Your spirit carries a frequency they didn't even know they were attuned to. To others you're simply you. But to them you felt like home. And not the comfortable and predictable kind of home. The safe, sacred, spiritually aligned kind. It's the kind of recognition that makes a person see destiny where others see coincidence. When they looked at you, something in their chest tightened. Not from fear, but from awareness. Awareness that they were standing in front of someone who could change their life. Someone who could touch the parts of them they keep hidden. Someone who could see them not just with eyes but with heart. This terrified them more than they expected. Because recognition forces reflection. And reflection forces honesty. And honesty forces a person to confront whether they're ready for the kind of love they've prayed for. Your future spouse had gotten used to emotional survival. They built routines around distraction. They built boundaries around vulnerability. They built walls around their heart, not because they are cold, but because they have experienced love that wounded, not love that healed. But when they met you, the walls didn't fall. They shifted. Just enough to let something in. Just enough to make space for the question, why does this person feel so familiar to me? It was a spiritual recognition wrapped in a human moment. A divine alignment disguised as a simple interaction. A God-orchestrated encounter disguised as everyday life. They tried to brush it off. They tried to convince themselves it was nothing. They tried to go back to their routine. But the shift had already happened. Once a soul recognizes another, retreating becomes almost impossible. Their mind went into logic mode, a place where spirit-led connections make no sense. But their heart whispered, pay attention. Their heart whispered, this is different. Their heart whispered, this is yours. The recognition wasn't only emotional, it was spiritual. A sense that you carry something they've been missing. A peace they've been craving. A gentleness they didn't know they needed. A strength they've been praying would enter their life at the right time. Their spirit recognized your intention, your honesty, your humility, your steady nature, your ability to love quietly yet intensely, your refusal to pretend, your willingness to grow. All of this made their heart lean toward you before they even realized it happened. And this awareness didn't just draw them to you, it confronted them. Because recognizing the right person is only half the journey. Becoming the right person is the other half. You triggered that transformation in them without knowing it. Your presence made them reconsider their patterns, their healing, their priorities, their habits, their emotional availability. Because when God aligns two souls, He doesn't just bring them together. He prepares them for each other. Your future spouse is now aware of you in a way they can't undo. Aware of your value. Aware of your depth. Aware of your impact. Aware of the role you could play in their destiny. This recognition is why they can't forget you. Why they can't shake your presence. Why something in them feels pulled toward you even when life tries to distract them. You are not just someone they met. You are someone their soul remembers. And that realization is reshaping everything inside them. Number 3, the hidden battle they're fighting because of you. People think love reveals itself gently, softly, smoothly. But when someone encounters a connection that feels God-ordained, something entirely different happens. A battle begins, not between you and them but within them. Your future spouse is currently fighting a war you can't see. Not because you did anything wrong. Not because you pressured them. Not because you made things complicated. But because meeting you forced them to confront the one thing they've avoided for years. Their unprocessed wounds. You didn't just awaken their heart. You awakened the parts of them they numbed. Every emotion they buried. Every fear they suppressed. Every hope they convinced themselves was unrealistic. All of it rose to the surface the moment your energy collided with theirs. This is why they pull back at times. Why they go silent. Why they disappear and reappear. Why they behave in ways that confuse you. It's not rejection. It's resistance to a transformation they weren't prepared for. Because loving you, or even considering loving you, requires a level of emotional responsibility they've never taken before. And that terrifies them. They're fighting the battle of, am I ready for this? Do I deserve someone like this? What if I fail them? What if I lose them? What if I'm not enough? Your hidden gift, that rare ability to love deeply, honestly, and spiritually, exposed their emotional weaknesses. It exposed their avoidance patterns. It exposed the masks they wear. It exposed how much they've been functioning in survival mode instead of relational maturity. You didn't trigger their insecurity. You revealed it. And instead of your presence overwhelming them negatively, it awakened something sacred inside them. The desire to heal, to grow, to become someone capable of reciprocating the type of love you give. Let me say this clearly. They're not distant because they don't care. They're distant because they care deeply and don't want to mishandle you. Your future spouse is wrestling with the truth that loving you requires intentionality, consistency, healing, accountability, honesty. These are not things they were taught. These are not things they were modeled. These are things they must now learn, because you entered their story. And here's the deeper layer of the battle they're fighting. They've finally realized that you are not replaceable. You're not one of many. You're not a temporary emotional rush. You're not a filler for loneliness. You're not a distraction from life. You are someone whose presence carries weight. And that weight demands preparation. They've tried comparing you to past situations, but nothing fits. They've tried telling themselves they can move on, but they can't. They've tried distracting their mind, but their heart refuses to cooperate. Your soul left an imprint on theirs. And imprints don't fade. They transform. Your future spouse is learning, painfully but necessarily, that unhealed people ruin good things. And they refuse to ruin you. They refuse to pull you into their chaos. They refuse to give you a half-developed version of themselves. That's why they're battling. Because something inside them knows. To love this person, I have to change. And change is uncomfortable. Change is inconvenient. Change is humbling. Change forces them to put down pride, ego, fear, and emotional defensiveness. But here's the beauty, they're not walking away. Not truly. not spiritually, not emotionally. Even when they're physically distant, their connection to you stays active. Even when they're silent, their spirit stays aware of you. Even when they're confused, their heart stays drawn to you. This battle isn't pushing them away from your story. It's guiding them toward it. They're learning what it means to step into a love that requires maturity. A love that requires courage. A love that requires God's hand, not just human desire. And here's the truth they don't say out loud. Loving you scares them, because losing you would break them. So they're choosing transformation. Slowly, quietly, privately, but undeniably. What you awakened in them is not confusion, it's growth. And growth always begins with a shaking. Number 4, the moment they realized you are their safe place. There comes a moment, often quiet and unnoticed by the outside world, when a person realizes whom their heart runs to, and whom it hides from. For your future spouse, that moment happened recently. Something clicked. Something shifted. Something inside them whispered a truth they could no longer ignore. You are the safest place they've ever encountered. Not safe in the sense of comfort alone. Not safe in the sense of predictability. But safe in the sense of emotional transparency. The rare ability to exist with you without performing, proving, or pretending. Your presence gives them permission to breathe, to soften, to let their guard down, to speak without calculating every word, to feel without fearing judgment, to dream without fearing disappointment. You became safe, not because you tried to be, but because you are. Your spirit carries warmth. Your voice carries peace. Your energy carries truth. And your heart carries sincerity that people don't encounter every day. This hits them especially hard because they've never truly had that before. They've had attraction. They've had chemistry. They've had excitement. But they've never had safety. Not the kind that reaches into the soul and says, "You don't have to hide here." And now they're wrestling with that truth. Because safety creates vulnerability, and vulnerability creates emotional exposure. To feel safe with someone is to give them access. Access to your mind. Access to your fears. Access to your insecurities. Access to your unhealed wounds. Access to your hopes. Your future spouse is not used to this level of emotional openness. It scares them in a way they can't articulate. Because deep down they've always feared that if someone saw the real them, the flawed parts, the messy parts, the unpolished parts, they would walk away. But you didn't. You don't. You won't. Your compassion softened their inner defenses. Your kindness disarmed their emotional walls. Your presence made their fears feel smaller. And something in your spirit told them, you can rest here. For someone who spent years being strong, independent, guarded, and cautious, that kind of rest feels foreign, almost dangerous, because now they want more of it. More of you. More of that feeling. More of that home-like energy they've never experienced before. This is one of the reasons they couldn't sleep, couldn't think clearly, couldn't move on, couldn't silence their thoughts about you. Not because of infatuation, but because their soul recognized a sanctuary in yours. Let me explain something deeper that people often overlook. When someone encounters emotional safety, their nervous system responds before their mind does. Their body relaxes around you. Their tone softens. Their anxiety eases. Their spirit settles. Your future spouse felt that shift. Their body knew you before their logic understood you. Their spirit trusted you before their fear could argue with it. Their heart leaned toward you before their mind could reason it away. This is why they replay your conversations. This is why they keep revisiting your energy. This is why they feel drawn back to you even when distance is present. Safety creates memory. A memory their soul refuses to forget. Here's another layer of truth. You didn't just make them feel safe. You made them feel seen. Seen in the parts of themselves they always hid. Seen in the emotions they never expressed. Seen in the dreams they tucked away. Seen in the pain they carried alone. They realized something powerful. You don't just observe them. You understand them. And that understanding reached a part of them that has been untouched for years. This is why they're emotional. This is why they feel overwhelmed. This is why they can't shake the thought of you. They know, consciously or unconsciously, that what you offer is not temporary. It's not shallow. It's not transactional. It's not based on appearance, status, or superficial attraction. It's spiritual. It's rooted. It's divine. It's familiar to their soul. And this realization is changing them. Because once a person experiences genuine emotional safety, every imitation of love becomes intolerable. They can't go back to surface-level connections. They can't go back to performing. They can't go back to shallow affection. They can't go back to pretending. You open the door to something real, and their heart refuses to accept anything less. This moment, this revelation, this awakening, is what's pulling them closer to you, even if their actions haven't aligned with it fully yet. Your presence didn't just touch their heart, it redefined what love means to them. Number 5. The breakthrough moment they haven't told anyone about. Every love story written by God contains a moment, turning point, a shift that happens quietly inside the heart of one person. A moment that changes their perspective, their desires, their fears, and their direction. Your future spouse reached that moment recently, a breakthrough they haven't told anyone about. It didn't happen during a conversation. It didn't happen during a romantic fantasy. It didn't happen during a moment of longing. It happened during a moment of truth. A moment where they finally confronted themselves. Because loving someone like you requires a level of inner honesty they have avoided for years. Your presence didn't just awaken their emotions. It awakened their conscience. It awakened their awareness. It awakened the realization that the way they've been living, relating, and coping is no longer enough. They saw the gap between who they are and who they want to be for you. And that gap broke them. Not because they feel unworthy of you, but because they want to rise to meet what you deserve. Because something about you calls them higher. Something about you pulls them forward. Something about you makes them want to grow, evolve, and mature. This breakthrough moment wasn't pretty. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't soft. It was raw. It was emotional. It was humbling. They faced the truth. I've been running from the very things I need to confront if I ever want to love someone properly. Their patterns became clear. Their fears became sharp. Their avoidance became undeniable. And for the first time, they didn't blame anyone else. They didn't blame their past. They didn't blame their upbringing. They didn't blame the people who hurt them. They took responsibility, not out of guilt, but out of revelation. Because the thought of loving you with unresolved wounds terrified them. Not because they fear hurting you, but because they fear losing you by mishandling something so rare. Here's the truth almost nobody talks about. Sometimes a person reaches their emotional breaking point not because of despair, but because they finally see what's worth becoming better for. You were that mirror for them. You reflected back their strengths, but also their blind spots, their longings, but also their limitations, their heart, but also their healing still needed. So they broke, quietly, alone, in a moment nobody witnessed, a moment that looked like a long stare at their own reflection, a prayer they didn't expect to pray, a memory of you they couldn't shake, a sudden flood of emotion they couldn't swallow back down. That was the moment God stepped in, because God uses love not just to unite hearts, but to restore souls. Your presence in their life was not an accident. It was a divine interruption. A gentle awakening. A holy disruption meant to shake them into transformation. And here's the part that will melt you. In their moment of emotional breakthrough, the same thought kept replaying in their mind. I don't want to lose them. Not, I don't want to miss my chance. Not, I don't want to be alone. Not, I don't want to make a mistake. But you. Specifically you. Your heart. Your presence. Your essence. Their breaking wasn't from fear. It was from realization. The realization that what they feel for you is not temporary. It's not seasonal. It's not superficial. It's not fleeting. It's foundational, spiritual, life-shifting. They broke because they finally understood what you truly mean to them, and what losing someone like you would do to them. This breakthrough moment is the reason they are changing, the reason they are reflecting, the reason they are reconsidering old habits. The reason they are becoming more intentional, even if slowly. The reason they can't move on, can't detach, can't forget. This moment changed the trajectory of their heart. It realigned them with God. It humbled them. It clarified them. It sobered them. It awakened them. And now they're quietly preparing, not just for love, but for you. This moment was the beginning of their transformation, and the beginning of the love story God is rewriting inside them. Number 6. The real reason they can't replace you even when they try. There is something your future spouse has been wrestling with silently, something they haven't admitted to themselves fully, but they feel it every single day. They can't replace you, even though they tried. Not out of disrespect, not out of carelessness, not because they didn't recognize your value, but because denying their feelings for you felt easier than facing the depth of them. So they tried to distract themselves. They tried to bury the connection. They tried to move forward with life as if meeting you didn't shift something internally. They tried social distractions, emotional withdrawals, busyness, entertainment, even temporary connections. Anything to silence the ache your absence created. But everything they ran toward felt empty. Everything they entertained felt shallow. Everything they tried to force felt unnatural. Because nothing aligned with the way their soul responded to you. And this truth hit them harder than expected. No one carries the same softness. No one carries the same emotional intelligence. No one carries the same warmth. No one listens the way you do. No one sees them the way you do. No one connects to their spirit the way you do. No one feels like home the way you do. This is the moment they realized you're not just a person. You're a presence. A presence their heart recognizes. A presence their spirit responds to. A presence their soul refuses to release. Let me be clear. They didn't fail to replace you because they didn't try. They failed to replace you because God never intended for anyone else to fit where you are meant to stand. You awakened something in them that no temporary connection can satisfy. And they are finally awake enough to feel the difference. Because every comparison, every attempt, every distraction has the same hollow outcome. It's not them. It's not the same. This doesn't touch me. This doesn't reach me. They realize that what they feel for you isn't infatuation. It isn't curiosity. It isn't a romantic fantasy. It is something rare. Something spiritually rooted, emotionally intelligent, and deeply personal. You reached them in ways they didn't even know were possible. You spoke to parts of them they didn't know needed speaking to. You affirmed pieces of them they thought were unlovable. You understood sides of them they've been hiding for years. You touched wounds they didn't know they were carrying. This is why no one else works. Because you weren't just a chapter. You were a turning point. You weren't just a person they met. You were a mirror. You weren't just a connection. You were a catalyst. They didn't know love could feel like safety. They didn't know attraction could feel like peace. They didn't know connection could feel like destiny. Until you. And now the truth is becoming undeniable. Every time they meet someone new, they look for traces of you. Your voice. Your heart. Your presence. Your emotional depth. Your spiritual awareness. Your warmth. Your sincerity. Your honesty. Your softness. But they don't find it. Because it isn't out there. It's in you. Only you. They miss the way you make them think. The way you challenge them gently. The way you understand them intuitively. The way you bring clarity, not confusion. The way their spirit rests around you. Every attempt to replace you taught them something unintentionally. They don't want options. They want you. And here's the part that's transforming them. They realized connection without alignment is empty. And they realized alignment without emotional safety is painful. And they realized emotional safety without spiritual depth doesn't last. You carry all three. And that combination doesn't show up twice in a lifetime. The reason they can't move on is not weakness. It's recognition. Recognition that what they felt with you was real. Recognition that your role in their life was purposeful. Recognition that this connection is not replaceable. Recognition that running doesn't make destiny disappear. So they're slowly stopping the running. They're slowly stopping the avoidance. They're slowly coming back to themselves. And through that, they're slowly coming back toward you. What God imprints on a heart cannot be erased by distance, silence, or distraction. And your future spouse is now living the reality of that truth. Number 7. The moment they realize you're their destiny, and why they're preparing for you now. There comes a moment in every God-written love story when one person finally stops running, and starts listening. Listening to their spirit. Listening to God. listening to the truth they've tried to silence. Your future spouse is reaching that moment now. This is the moment when the noise around them gets quiet, when the confusion fades, when the temporary distractions lose their flavor, when their heart begins to speak louder than their fears, when clarity replaces hesitation, when the truth settles in like a sunrise, slowly but undeniably. They are realizing that what they feel for you isn't just emotion. It's recognition. Recognition of alignment. Recognition of purpose. Recognition of destiny. Recognition of something bigger than both of you. They can't explain why thinking about you brings peace instead of pressure. Why imagining a future with you brings comfort instead of chaos. Why your presence didn't drain them, it grounded them. Why your absence didn't give them freedom, it revealed their longing. This realization didn't appear overnight. It came through the lessons, the mistakes, the detours, the failed attempts to move on, the inner battles, the spiritual awakenings, and the persistent echo inside their heart that kept whispering your name. They're starting to see how every challenge, every heartbreak, every delay, and every moment of confusion was preparing them, not punishing them. They're noticing patterns, moments, and divine timing aligning in ways they cannot deny. They're feeling God tugging at their heart, not toward someone else, but toward you. This is where their desires begin to shift. This is where they begin choosing healing over habits, discipline over distraction, honesty over avoidance, growth over comfort, preparation over passivity. Because destinies are not stumbled into, they're stepped into. And you're the destiny they're beginning to move toward intentionally. They are working on themselves in ways you may never see. Not because they're perfect, but because loving you requires maturity, stability, and spiritual awareness. And they're rising to meet that call. They're healing their old wounds. They're confronting their patterns. They're learning the emotional language they never had growing up. They're fixing what their childhood broke. They're breaking habits that silence their potential. They're releasing relationships that block their growth. All because they realized something life-altering. You deserve a partner who is present, not distracted. Aligned, not lost. Ready, not almost. And they want to be that for you. Their love for you is not passive. It's active. Transforming. Awakening. Rearranging their priorities from the inside out. They're imagining a future with you, and instead of feeling fear, they feel purpose. They're imagining building a home with you, and instead of doubt, they feel readiness. They're imagining loving you, and instead of insecurity, they feel calling. This is the moment when everything inside them whispers. This is the person God wrote into my story. This is the one that fits my spirit. This is the one my soul keeps remembering. This is the one I'm meant to grow with, build with, and stand beside. And finally, they are no longer questioning it. This is the awakening of a heart that tried to deny its own truth. This is the clarity that comes after confusion. This is the stillness that follows emotional storms. This is the recognition that only destiny can create. They are preparing for you now, not someday, not eventually, not when life magically rearranges itself, but now. Because when God rewrites a love story, He prepares the hearts behind it. Your future spouse is being prepared. And whether you see it or not, whether you hear from them or not, whether life currently looks quiet or distant, the work is happening behind the scenes. They are getting ready for the love they finally understand is theirs. A love written with intention. A love aligned with purpose. A love shaped by heaven. And in their heart they know that love is you. As we close this journey today, I want you to hear me clearly, not with your ears, but with your spirit. Because everything we've explored, every revelation, every emotional shift, every spiritual awakening, it all leads to this final truth. Nothing God writes is wasted. Nothing God begins is abandoned. Nothing God joins is fragile. Your love story, the real one, the God-authored one, is not falling apart. It's forming. It's aligning. It's preparing both of you for a reunion rooted in purpose. Not longing, maturity, not fantasy, covenant, not convenience. And your future spouse? They're not behind. They're not lost. They're not uninterested. They are becoming. Becoming the healed version of themselves. Becoming the emotionally available version. Becoming the spiritually awakened version. Becoming the partner who can love you without fear, without hesitation, without the old wounds they once hid behind. This preparation isn't punishment. It's protection. It's God safeguarding the very thing you prayed for. It's God shaping two hearts who will one day beat in the same rhythm and move in the same direction. And while you may not see the changes happening, the spiritual realm sees it clearly. Your future spouse is being pulled. Pulled toward truth. Pulled toward healing. Pulled toward accountability. Pulled toward destiny. The same God who nudges your spirit is nudging theirs. The same longing you feel in your chest, they feel it too. The same clarity you've been stepping into, they're stepping into it now. Their thoughts are shifting. Their heart is opening. Their spirit is surrendering. And even if life looks quiet, understand something. Quiet is where God whispers the loudest. This love is not drifting, it's returning. Not by force, not by fear, not by emotion alone, but by divine design. And as this story unfolds, your role is not to chase. It is not to control. It is not to panic. Your role is to stay aligned. Stay grounded. Stay open. Stay ready for what God is preparing behind the scenes. Because when two people are meant to walk together, God will not allow distance to destroy it. He will use distance to develop it. So hear me when I say this with authority. The reunion won't just be emotional. It will be purposeful. It will be healing. It will be holy. It will be the moment where everything finally makes sense. And when your future spouse looks into your eyes again, they won't just see the person they desire. They'll see the person God prepared for them. They'll see home. They'll see clarity. They'll see peace. They'll see destiny. This love story is unlike anything you've lived before because God Himself is rewriting it. And He does not rewrite stories He plans to abandon. He rewrites stories He plans to finish, beautifully, powerfully, and undeniably. Before we end today, if this message spoke to your spirit, if it grounded you, if it brought clarity, if it lifted your heart, if it reminded you that God is still working, make sure you subscribe. This channel is where we walk through healing together, where we grow, where we understand love through a kingdom lens, not a worldly one, where your future spouse, your purpose, and your spiritual evolution all intersect. Subscribe, comment, and if this poured into you, consider hitting the super thanks so this message reaches more hearts who need it. And remember, God is not done. Your story is not over. And love, real love, is already finding its way back to you. Amen.